favorite season. Watching the flowers blooming up from the ground, watching the snow melt down. Boy, you may dig winter time, but spring is my joy. It's got me feeling so glad the days are breezy. You've got the time to say hello and give a smile. Feeling real good is in style. You may dig winter time, but spring is my joy. It's something special, haven't you observed? It makes you glad to be alive. It's not absurd to say that spring helps you survive the winter's long, miserable snow and rain. It gives you hope to know that spring will get a refrain. You only have to believe the day is coming. The world is humming, think how good it's gonna be, and that goes double for me. You may dig winter time, but spring is my joy. Isn't spring your favorite season? Watching the flowers blooming up from the sky, watching the snow melt down. Boy, you make it winter time, but spring is my joy. Isn't spring your favorite season? Watching the flowers blooming up from the ground, watching the snow melt down. Boy, you may dig winter time, but spring is my joy. It's got me feeling so glad the days are breezy. You've got the time to say hello and give a smile. Feeling real good is in style. You may dig winter time, but spring is my joy. It's something special, haven't you observed? It makes you glad to be alive. It's not absurd to say that spring helps you survive the winter's long, miserable snow and rain. It gives you hope to know that spring will get a refrain. You only have to believe the day is coming. The world is humming, think how good it's gonna be. That goes double for me. Double for me. Double for me. My joy.
All right. Good morning, Jubilee. Wow, it is a fun Easter morning here at 46 Wall Street. We've got the whole gang here. We've got, obviously, you see the band playing for you this morning, and several of the ministers are here, so you'll see different parts of the celebration center as we go on today. All right, well, obviously, it's Easter morning, and I'm so happy to have you all here. What I'm going to do is go over just a few tech things really quickly. Most of you have been here and you know these tech pieces, but we may have some newcomers, so I want to welcome everyone to feel welcome. We would love it if you are willing and able to turn on your micro or your video so that we can see each other. If you have things in gallery view, you can see a whole bunch of people at once. And if you are interested in saving the chat at the end of the celebration, you can go down into the chat room and click on chat, and there where you would fill in whatever you wanted to chat, there are 3 little dots. If you hover over those dots, you'll find an option to save chat, and you can do that there. That gives you all the links and all the prayer concerns and all the things that have come up today. So we would love for you to be able to do that too. But remember that you can also find all the links on our website and in our e-news each week. So if you're not signed up for the e-news, you can go to our website and do that. And while you're there, if you're not in our directory, there's a way for you to sign up to be in our directory. And we'd love to have an up-to-date database so you can go in and make sure that's up to date. Well, so we started this morning with a sunrise service at 7 a.m. 40 of us braved the cold and sang some songs along with Delia, who, bless her heart, had her cold lips playing into her cold flute with a broken finger, and she managed just fine to do that. Today is not only Easter, but it is also the anniversary of the death of Martin Luther King Jr. It was on this date that he was in Memphis, Tennessee, to support the organization of the sanitation workers there when he was killed and died. The night before, he had given the wonderful "I've been to the mountaintop" speech, a sort of prescient speech about not needing to make it to the finish line with the rest of us and not worrying about anything. It reminds me a little bit of how Jesus made a prescient speech to his disciples on Thursday night before he was crucified on Good Friday. The prophets throughout history have been killed, and yet nothing has stopped their love, their justice, and their message. Every day, the sun rises out of the darkness of the night. We can count on this. Every spring, out of the cold of winter, spring arises. We can count on this. And every year, we get this reminder on Easter Sunday that even out of the darkness of the tomb, life rises. And we can count on this. Even out of the cruelty of the world, love rises. We can count on this. The German poet Rilke said, even when we don't desire it, God is ripening. So whatever desires you are bringing to this day, this Easter morning, the desires of your heart, the desires of your soul, all those things you've given up desiring, those things that you don't dare to desire, bring them here to the ripening God, the Easter Jesus, the resurrection Christ. In the traditional greeting of the Christian church, we say this morning, friends, Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Let's try that again. Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Christ is risen.
Christ is risen indeed.
Christ is risen indeed. And let's settle into this morning with a beautiful musical invocation by Delia Bailey and Carolyn Zeigler.
Okay, where was I?
I think you got to start over now.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the animated part of that. Good morning, Jubilee. Again, as I was saying, I'm feeling awfully resurrected today. I'm feeling the rebirth of what's happening here in life, this new period that we've gone through, maybe a 9-month period of being reborn, of not seeing one another and being in each other's presence and feeling the livelihood of what we each bring to our moment in our life. And in this day where we celebrate a rising, have you risen? What have you put into the ingredients of your life so that it rises up to the top? So with that and being alive, face with me to the east and take a deep breath. Oh, Spirit to the east, we come with gratitude today. We come with an open heart and an open mind. Thank you for the light and the warmth that is you. We are the light. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your lineage with us. Thank you for sharing your blood and your tears. Thank you for all that you have done. We can ask you to continue to bless us with your presence in a good way, I hope. Face to the south, please. Oh, Spirit to the south. We come to you with a good and humble heart this day. We thank you for your nurturing, and we thank you for all the love that you share with us. It's with gratitude that all we can do is sometimes stand in silence and in awe. Know that in our humanness, sometimes silence is the best that we can do. Know that we love you and we welcome you in a good way. Come. I hope. Face to the west. Oh, ancestors of the West, to all of those that have gone before, thank you. Thank you for your vision and your love. Thank you for your compassion and forgiveness. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for being honest when you didn't know. Help us to carry those lessons. Thank you for setting an example for us to strive for. We love you and we miss you, but you're always here with us in a good way. I hope. Face to the north, please. Oh, spirits of the north, to all the beings of the Wind Nation, thank you. Thank you for the breath that you share, not only with us as humans, but with every living thing on this earth. We feel the wind blow, and we know the presence of God. We feel the air pass through our lungs, and we know that we are alive. Thank you. Each and every one of you know that we honor you and respect you and love you in a good way. Come. I hope. If you would, just turn inward and take a good deep breath. Oh, ancestors of the universe, thank you. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this family. Thank you for this community. Thank you for all that we are. Know that our prayers and our gratitude come out to you. We thank you for being in our lives. And we ask you to continue to walk with us in each breath in a good way. I hope.
I hope.
Thank you, Yona. So get ready to sing. We're going to do some singing over here. And if you are out there, wherever you are, we invite you to sing along. I think the words are going to be on the screen there. And also invite you to look in the chat, and there should be a link there where you can make a donation and feed hungry folks and folks who are in need and share some of your blessing with others. And so we're going to do this springtime version of a song that you have probably heard before. right song? Ah, it's that one.
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all her growing powers, towards the light is striving, on the iron touch of gold, winter time and frost time, seedlings working through the mold, now make up for lost time.
Let's do that. Let's try that again, huh? That wasn't so great on my part.
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all her growing powers, towards the light is thriving, on the iron touch of gold, winter time and frost time, seedlings working through the mold, now make up for lost time.
Want to do it one more time? Third time's a charm.
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all her growing powers, towards the light is striving, on the iron touch of gold, winter time and frost time, seedlings working through the mold, now make up for lost time.
Oh, yeah. I was looking around for a song for the band to do for our first time back in a year, and that we could do on Easter, and I just couldn't quite find the right song. And as Howard often taught, sometimes the thing that you do just comes from somewhere else. And so I decided to look for somewhere else, and this is what came through. And Paula, I'm really grateful for you to be singing this. So
Thank you, Daniel. In other words, everybody, Daniel wrote this song especially for this morning. Yeah.
yeah.
What is the magic hid from my eyes? What is the magic we don't recognize? How can a mystery heal and renew? What is the question following you? It's in us, it's in us, the light, the life, the love. It's in us, runs through us, from below and above.
And all in love, body, spirit, say,
Ooh, a joy-filled Easter egg that is us. Why does the story live on and on? What is the good news to which we are drawn? When I behold you, something appears. Moment of wonder, life over fear. It's in us, the life, the
Spirit said,
a pregnant Easter egg that is us. It's in us, all of us. The light, the life, the love. It's in us, runs through us, from below and above.
head and heart and land, a body, spirit said,
Yay, a love-filled Easter egg
that is us.
that is us. It's in us, all of us. The light, the life, the love. It's in us, runs through us, from below and above.
Heart and arm and leg,
Heart and
body, spirit said,
love-filled Easter, love-filled Easter egg that is us.
it's in us,
It's in us,
all of us.
all of us.
This is us.
Ooh, this is us.
It's in us.
It's in us.
It's in us.
It's in us.
All of us. This is us.
It's us.
It's in us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, band. Thank you, everyone in this room. Thank you, Jubilee. So to everyone at home, I just want to, if I could, bottle up what's in here and send it at you and remind you that, yes, Jubilee is a physical building at 46 Wall Street, but it's also you. It's all of you. So one day we will all be in here, but for the moment, yeah, we're going to take the supercharged energy in this room and remind you that you are also that energy and you give us that energy. So can I get an oh yeah? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that felt good. During this prayer time, Warren will light candles for you if you have a specific prayer. I invite you to breathe deeply. So what is it that is risen today? That can be personal for each person that is praying, that is breathing, whose heart is beating. The spirit of the land is risen indeed. Through the trials of those who are unjust, the souls of all people of color whom hatred has been visited, they are risen indeed. This week we honored the Transgender Day of Remembrance. They are risen indeed. The goddess for whom Easter is named is living through all green things. She is risen. She is risen indeed. We are gathered in spite of all things, in spite of great travail. We persevere as dandelions which break the concrete of the most worn sidewalks. We are risen indeed. The Christ is each of us today. I encourage you to find that Christ. If every person that you see, in any creature that you pass, today, all is risen indeed. I invite you to pray with friends in the chat. Warren will light candles for you. Breathe deeply. Maya Angelou said, "Still I rise." Put your hand on your heart and say, "Still I rise." Despite all things, still I rise. Despite persecution, pandemics, any trial, still I rise. No winter so great shall hold me back, still I rise. We are one in spirit. Still we rise. Daniel?
Of the morning we open to all of the gifts of the day. We open our hearts to take it all in and give it all back in a way. Let us sing of the beauty around us. Let us sing of the beauty within. Oh, hear the earth tell that all shall be well. Anam Cara, Anam Cara, so friend.
I think.
Good morning, Jubilee.
Good morning.
Glad to be here, and
Turn the camera on him.
camera is showing Howard here, and our little bubble on Facebook.
Dark Howard.
Do I go ahead then? Yeah, go ahead. All right. Well, I was saying good morning and happy Easter, but one thing we seldom do at Jubilee on Easter and on Christmas is to celebrate the Greasters. This is their day.
these little technical deals.
All right.
There we go.
Like this? Like this?
Yep, there we go.
Now you can hear me, but you can't see me. And that's what people have been praying for all along. Finally. Let's see, where was I? I'm in Jubilee.
Jubilee. You started this place.
Oh my goodness. All right. All right. Now what?
Go ahead. Just start as if you were just born and you were like coming to, you were born again.
All right. Hello, Creasters. Hello, Creasters. This is Howard, and I'm speaking to the Creasters and to anyone else who happens to be listening. Now, Creasters, this is your day. This is the day that you wait for, and to acknowledge that you are a part of this thing. So, Creasters, just for you, we have a special little Bible quiz. This is for the Creasters, and now what? Okay. I don't know what's going on here. All right. Of the four Gospels, there are four Gospels. Christians may not know that. There are four Gospels, four stories of Jesus. But of those four, how many of them include the birth story? Two.
I was gonna say three.
Can we see that?
Two.
I don't know.
I was gonna say three. You sure it's not three?
No. And how many of these stories include the birth, the death, and the resurrection?
Two.
Four. All four of them. All right.
Death is twice as important as birth.
Yeah. And according to the Gospels, which was it? Was it men or women who discovered Jesus was missing?
Women.
It was the women.
It was
That's
the
right.
women.
The men didn't know jack. They were sacked out. They were sleeping. They were scared. They were
running
hiding away. Anyway, and that's my camera. Okay, that's the camera. Okay. And who is the woman that is mentioned in every story? Mary Magdalene. That's right, Mary Magdalene, not Mary, the mother of Jesus, Mary Magdalene. So, all right, Christians, how'd you do, Christians? All right, listen, I figure that the Baptists still have us beat, but we can take down the Unitarians in their day. We got them. All right, reality check. How many of you have ever had a prayer answered? Really answered. Me too. How many of you have had a prayer not answered or not answered the way you would want it to? Yeah. I had the prayer answered that way that when I was going through a hard time, and I prayed that I would make it through, and I did. And also, I had a prayer that my dad would live past 57, and he didn't. So I imagine most of us have experienced that. And so did Jesus. On the night he was betrayed, he said, "Please let this cup pass from me. This cup of poison, let it pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done." And in saying that, he admitted that he didn't know it all. And that is what Easter says. Easter teaches each of us that we don't know it all. We can't know it all. So, not my will, but thine be done, simply says, it's up to you. Now, where am I? Now, what do you make of that? Basically, you can say You don't know anything. You don't know anything. And you don't. Well, you know fragments. But in terms of the big picture, you don't, and nobody knows it all. Who could have guessed? Who could have guessed? It's incredible. It's impossible that the Easter story could happen. And yet, we admit that we don't know it all. And therefore, it's possible. It is possible. All right, if we're going to talk literature, we got to talk the Irish. If we're talking music, we got to talk the Irish. Now, why is that? It could be the whiskey. We don't know. But we do know that it's true. Van Morrison, here we go. Whenever God shines his light on me, opens up my eyes, and I can see. When I look up in the darkest night, I know everything gonna be all right. Whenever God shines his light on me, opens up my eyes so I can see. When I look up in the darkest night, I know everything is gonna be all right. In deep confusion, in great despair, I'll reach out to him, for he is there. When I am lonely as I can be, I know that God shines his light on me. When Death Comes by Mary Oliver. When it's over, I want to say, all my life, I was a bride married to amazement. I was a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have something in my life, something in particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened and full of argument. When it's over, I don't want to end up having simply visited this world. Reach out to him. He'll be there with your troubles. Oh, you can share. If you live the life you love, you get the blessings from above. Here you go. This is your Easter affirmation. Creatures, anyway, I don't know it all. Easter is here to show me I don't know it all. And that's a blessing. I am blessed because I don't know it all. I can't know it all. I cannot possibly even come close. Thank you, Easter. Thank you, risen Christ. Thank you for all that has come my way, that I had no clue what was happening. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, yay, Howard. It's so great to see you again. Well, the singers are up next, and we have an Easterish, springish piece that has the lyrics have a lot of different levels to them, and I hope you find them is meaningful. They're in the chat, and JR, take us away.
Just the seeds, although they lie in darkness, stirring beyond your watchful eye, though they may not flower, 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 flower. just a seeds.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, singers. Thank you, Howard. It's a little teary in this room today. It's really good to be here with everybody. So one of those 4 stories that Howard referenced, it can be found in Luke 24. Listen now for these ancient words. But on the first day of the week, at early dawn, the women came to the tomb, taking the spices they had prepared. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they went in, they did not find the body. While they were perplexed about this, suddenly 2 men in dazzling clothes stood before them. The women were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, but he has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Humanity would be handed over to sinners and be crucified and on the 3rd day rise again." Then they remembered Jesus' words, and returning from the tomb, they told all this to the 11 and to all the rest. Now, it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, the mother of James, and the other women with them who told this to the apostles. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe them. This is ancient wisdom and holy word. Thanks be to all that is wise and holy. All creation is wisdom and holy word.
All creation
Sings of wisdom in God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. But these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe them. Now, in this case, they is the men and them is the women. The men did not believe what the women had experienced. It is very tempting to start my whole Easter message with some commentary on that phenomenon. But in this case, I almost have to side with the guys. If you had been there when the women returned from the empty tomb and told this story, would you have believed them? Like Christmas, the Easter story is one we've heard so often that we think we already know it. And like Christmas, it's a story that stretches our intellectual credulity. A man is brutally and publicly executed, and his body put in a sealed tomb on Friday. And by Sunday morning, the body is gone, and people who seem to be of an angelic nature declare that the dead has risen. Just as Mary, the mother of Jesus, had been terrified when an angel told her that she would soon be pregnant, this group of women at the tomb is terrified by the messengers and the message. The poet Rilke wrote that every angel is terrifying, and the biblical stories certainly bear this out. But why? Why are we terrified by the presence of a messenger from another realm? Well, maybe it's because we don't really believe in realms other than this one we occupy on Earth. And any evidence to the contrary challenges our very understanding of what life is. Or maybe we sort of believe in them, but we kind of hope they'll stay in their lane and allow us to stay in ours. For now, we'd like to stick with the 5 senses we've been taught to trust above all else, and maybe sometimes a bit of a 6th sense when we can appreciate the intuitive guidance that we might receive. But if those other realms began intruding on this one with regularity, that might be a little unsettling to what we've come to understand as our way of life. We like keeping Asheville weird, but even weirdness has its limits. But what if this is exactly the point of the whole Easter story? What if the message is simply, you are not alone? Here in this earthbound life, there is another world beyond the veil, and it isn't really even beyond the veil. In the gospel stories of the crucifixion of Jesus, it's written that when Jesus breathed his last, the curtain in the temple was ripped in half. Now, first, can I just note that thinking of Jesus breathing his last after 3 long tortured hours of tortured breathing has more significance to me this year. When someone was crucified, they didn't die from the puncture wounds. They died by suffocation. It became too painful to keep lifting up, to take a breath. I can't breathe became the last reality for those executed by the state. Some things haven't changed. I can't breathe like the 2.8 million individuals who have died of COVID this year. And so Jesus breathed his last, and the curtain in the temple tears in two. Well, what does that mean? The Israelites hung a curtain between the main part of the temple and what they called the Holy of Holies, the spot where they believed that God was present. Only one priest was invited behind God's curtain, and only once a year for a single job, and that was to make atonement with a sacrifice. The rest of the time, to enter into the presence of God meant death. Stay away. God is holy, and we are not. That was the message of the temple curtain. As Jesus breathed his last, the curtain was torn apart. The separation between God and humanity destroyed, the veil lifted, the illusion that God required a sacrifice demolished. Now, of course, some Christians over the years have interpreted this to mean that Jesus was the one great sacrifice. This is known as atonement theology. God demanded a sacrifice, and Jesus offered the perfect one. But this theology was based on the idea that to approach God meant death. The idea that we had to have something dividing us from the divine because we are unclean and unworthy, and God alone is holy. And yet everything that Jesus has demonstrated up to this point is the opposite. He touched lepers, unclean. He ate with tax collectors and prostitutes, unclean. He spoke to women in public, unclean. He allowed menstruating women to touch him, unclean. He spoke of the Good Samaritan who washed the blood of a stranger, definitely unclean. Jesus himself did not perform all the required ablutions before each meal, unclean, and he even mocked those who did as hypocrites. All the metaphors that Jesus used to describe our relationship to God moved away from that distant and untouchable toward the near and connected. A vine and its branches, a tree and its fruit, the yeast a woman puts into her bread, children crawling up on a lap. These are images of us with God. The kingdom of God is in your midst, he said, not curtained away in a special corner of the temple, here among you, at your fingertips, available. So what happened on Easter morning? Did the murdered flesh and blood of a man from Nazareth stand up and walk away? Well, I won't pretend to you that I understand. but I will share with you what I know. Something happened. A veil between the realms lifted. The illusion that God is distant and separate was torn asunder. When Jesus breathed out his final forgiveness from the cross, a sacred transmutation occurred. Contemporary Christian mystic Cynthia Bourgeault has compared this act of Jesus to the Buddhist practice of Tonglen, which some of you may know. Tonglen is an advanced form of meditation where the practitioner willingly breathes in the toxicity, the heaviness, the dense darkness of the world, and takes it down into her heart where it's purified by love, and breathes it back out into the world as peace. Jesus performed Tonglen from the cross. Bourgeault also called this action of Christ a sort of cosmic dialysis. You know that when someone needs kidney dialysis, they're connected to a machine that cleans their blood of toxins. She notes that on the cross, Jesus took the toxins of fear and hatred, anger and greed into his body and cleansed them with unconditional love. Somehow, in a way that defies our limited language and maybe even our capacity to make sense of it, Easter is a moment when the world is transformed, when everything that is harsh and ugly, that is dark, that is cruel, is absorbed and then transfigured. A metamorphosis occurs, and suddenly all that is death-dealing loses its grip. Jesus explicitly told his followers that this was not his job alone, that this was our purpose as well. Love one another as I have loved you, he said. What I have done, you will do, and even more, he said. Over and over, he used language about dying to self in order to rise, dying to those things that make us small and afraid. And how we do this, how we endure the death of that small ego self, is not by the power of our will or the reasoning of our intellect, but by surrendering and allowing our own bodies to be the place where this transformation occurs. Now, can we surrender to a God who is distant and judging, angry and demanding? Or is surrender more like the act of making love, allowing ourselves to be taken over by a power that subdues all that is judging and separate and brings us into a union with beauty and grace and passion and love? If Easter is simply and always about something that happened once, long ago, to one man, then we can honor that moment with remembrance and gratitude. But if Easter is really about removing the curtain between the realms, allowing the energy of heaven to infuse and alter the energy of earth, the distance between the divine and human being bridged, then the invitation today is far greater than our gratitude. The invitation is to the transformation of the world where we live now. The invitation is not only to see the devastation to humanity and the planet that is wrought by greed and apathy, fear and competition, but to actively step toward it with the intention of breathing in that toxicity and purifying it with the power of love. Now, these are not just fancy, sentimental words. This is the hard work of being conscious. of waking up and staying awake. Until we ourselves have tasted the nectar of heaven, we'll not be able or ready to swallow those bitter energies, trusting, knowing that all the energies of death can be overcome with the potency of love. The things we cling to so tightly, believing they define us or give us our worth, can be released without harm. And when we loosen our grip on them, our hands are free to receive a life that's even more real. When we lighten our load, we can rise up to live between these realms on earth as it is in heaven. As above, so below. Easter tells us that this is not only possible, it is necessary. It is the work that Jesus came to do and also the work he came to teach. Easter is the moment he releases that work into the world and invites us to catch it. When we look out at the world, we see how beautiful, how magical, how awesome it is. And if we choose to be conscious and awake, we can also see the pain and the brutality. Easter is a time we throw ourselves once again into believing that love has the capacity to transform even the densest darkness into light. Christ did this for us so that we might do it for the world. So friends, Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. And let us now rise to meet him. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, everyone. Happy Easter. Laura, thank you so much for that enlivening discussion. The things you had to say were really beautiful. This week's Jubilee in Action announcements are short and sweet. And as always, you can find more details in chat, in our newsletter, and on the website. There's lots of racial equity resources on the Jubilee in Action page of our website, including Stopping Asian Hatred, information on racial disparity in Asheville schools, and how to participate in the book discussion of Caste. There are also several Creation Care Alliance events posted there, including details on Virtual Earth Day Vigil on April 25th. And there'll be readings and prayers and songs presented by several speakers from across Western North Carolina. And if you're like me and were really moved by Sarah Wooder's presentation last Sunday on the work that Jubilee House CDCA is doing in Nicaragua, there is a link for making donations on the website. And that's it for Jubilee in Action today.
Mortals join the happy chorus which the morning stars began. Love divine is reigning o'er us, joining all in heaven's plan. Ever singing march we onward, joyful in the midst of strife. Joyful music leads us sunward in the holy song of life.
Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Christ is risen in us when we take on this hope, this joy, this possibility that all shall be well. So let's sing it together. We can unmute ourselves and hear the chaotic wonderfulness of all of us together. And remember to stay for the breakout rooms.
All shall be well. All shall be well.
Nothing shall be well. All shall be well.
Shall be well. All shall be well.
All manner of things shall be well. All shall be well.
All shall
Be well.
all
Strong
shall
to be well.
All
Happy Easter.
manner of things shall be well.
Continue to sing it in the breakout rooms.
All
shall be
Break out.
well.
Break out.